Hello everyone. So today is Christmas Day. If you're celebrating Christmas, either today or tomorrow morning, I wish you Merry Christmas, lots of joy, um, safety, health, lots of happiness for you, your family, your loved ones, and I also wish you prosperity. Now, as I started these daily short sessions, I thought it's important I'll continue them, so I'll shoot this one as well today. And it will be a short one as the previous 4 sessions. I'll choose a subject that I will be discussing today, and within the 15 minutes of the session, I will also share with you one promo code, a demo code, 1 month code to 3Commas trading platform. So that code is giving you pro access, this particular set of features, and it will be perfect for you to give it a try to automated trading if you haven't done so in the past, or maybe if you've done it but you don't have an active subscription. I wish I could give you more goodies. That's the only goodie I have this season. Maybe next season, more platforms would want to partner with me and share some giveaways through me. But I'm happy at least this is something I can give you on top of the sessions that I also have prepared on top of the content. And today's content, today's topic that I want to discuss is diversification. So I brought it up a few times already during the last few sessions, and some of you had commented, so you're catching on the message. And I wanted to visualize this a bit and discuss this as well. So diversification, how can we diversify kind of like our assets and maybe reduce the risks? So there are multiple areas that I could think of, so I'm starting to write them down in this Excel file, just again for visualization. So first, I think you could definitely have more than one exchange. So I got burned quite a lot, as many did, with the FTX failure a year ago. And I had, that was my main account actually. So I traded on other exchanges. I had KuCoin and a few other ones, but I kind of concentrated only on FTX. And once it failed, and it failed very, very fast. I'm not sure if you were there at the time or maybe you read about it, but it started with the collapse of FTT token, literally within a few hours. And then you could not withdraw the funds. So the withdrawal was locked out. And then there was a hack. So a large amount of funds was stolen from the exchange. And finally, they halted the whole website. So the collapse was so fast and so paralyzing that you really could not get your funds out. And that's why I say, well, the exchange is the very first layer that you could consider spreading your assets across. And I'm here, for example, I put Binance, Coinbase, KuCoin as an example, right? So you could have 4 exchanges. I think 4 is enough. You know, even 2 is good. It's better than 1. But to me, seems 4 like a good idea. And if you use websites like CoinMarketCap or some other ones, you can get a pretty decent understanding of the available exchanges. And then, of course, you need to check in your region what is allowed. Some countries have very few options available to you, unfortunately. But this website represents a pretty good standing of the exchanges. You can see some decent information about them. For example, you can see how many coins are available on exchange. So here, as I go to CoinMarketCap, I look at exchanges menu, and we have top, spot derivatives and DEX. Currently, I'm just looking at centralized. I'm not looking at decentralized exchanges. So within decentralized exchanges, there is a spot and derivatives option tab, and I can take a look at the ranking provided by this website, and I can try to make my own ranking. So for example, for derivatives, the top 5 are Binance, Bybit, OKX, KuCoin, and BitGet. We can see, for example, fees here already. Now, sometimes these exchanges have promotions, the fees get reduced. Also, you may have a different layer or some kind of like a VIP status and so on, right? So this is generic fees, and there may be some specifics. And then you could have a trading volume. You could sort by that to have an idea. And also, well, yeah, I mean, these are the most important parts. So this ranking, I do like the OKX, coin market cap ranking. They give a pretty decent combined rating. So Binance, Bybit, OKX, KuCoin, BitGet, for example, these are the ones that I would go. I don't know what Bluebit is, even though it shows quite a large trading volume. But these are the ones I would go in, register, go through the KYC, and spread your funds across. Because if one of them experienced a failure, then you would not have a total loss. And so that was derivatives. You could also look at spot, for example, if you prefer spot trading. And the choices are very similar. There may be some different exchanges that coming up to the top, for example, Coinbase, which had been primarily a spot exchange, but I think they're rolling out the derivatives now. So exchanges is the very first layer where I think you could diversify and have multiple exchanges. Then on each of the exchanges, you can have multiple sub accounts. This is true for most of the exchanges. I don't know if it's true for all of them. For example, I do not know if you can create a sub account on Coinbase, but I know you can do it on Binance. I know you can do it on Bybit, on OKX. So for sure, that's something you could do. And you don't have to go crazy in creating 20 of them, but you could create 2 or 3. And why that would be useful is for then access or API diversification. So for example, if you have a trading platform like 3Commas, like Miser, or maybe some other ones, there's many actually, then you could associate them with these sub-accounts. For example, on your Binance account, your first sub-account could be just linked with 3Commas. This way, for example, if we have any kind of a leak or attack or issue with an API associated with 3Commas, so if you have an issue here, then the other 2, for example, sub-accounts on your Binance account would be safe. And so on, right? You could continue kind of diversifying it and documenting that. It becomes fairly complex, I believe, to manage. But if you are trading with bots, then once you configure and set it up, it all is somewhat automated. You need to monitor it. Sometimes there may be some errors, sometimes maybe some manual actions needed, but it's not as resource intensive after you set it up. So these are the very kind of 3 layers that I can think of. And I would be interested also in your opinion. So drop a comment and let me know how you think we could improve the security. There's additional, it goes without saying that the very first kind of entry point into Your platform automation into your exchange is actually your credentials. So your password, which is usually associated with an email account, and then your secondary authentication. So that's, secondary authentication is critical. You need to have it. You should use an app for that. SMS as a secondary notification is not perfect. You could use it, but there are so-called SIM swap attacks. So it's better to use an app for the 2FA, such as Google Authenticator or Microsoft, and so on. So that would be an entry point to any of them, your personal credentials. And of course, we could continue developing this story. For example, we could continue discussing, well, now I have this security layer is kind of diversified. How do I further diversify risks? Maybe we can talk about, I'm not sure how to call them properly, cryptocurrency related risks. So for example, you have all of these things set up, but your assets are mainly USDT, right, as your quote currency where you trade. And that could also be broken and diversified. So you could have other stable currencies where you trade, including maybe USD. Some exchanges allow you to trade in maybe even in euro. So that could be an interesting discussion as well. And moreover, aside of stable currencies, you could be trading in actual crypto. So for example, trading in Bitcoin, you could trade, for example, Sol BTC pair. So this topic is something I want to cover in my next stream that I hope will be tomorrow, how to trade in BTC, quote currency, and how to maybe earn and take profit in BTC. That would be another way of diversifying away from, for example, trading in USDT, all of it. That's the topic. Some food for thought. Happy to, really interested in your opinion as well. So please share via comments. And now, as always, I will share with you the code 23 commerce access, give you 1 month of the run on the platform. So that's the code. Copy it, and I'm also pasting this into the chat. With this, I'm closing today's session. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again tomorrow and the day after. And I wish you a great holiday celebration. Bye.